We're mammals, right?
Attention to detail and allowance in your life.
Take use of pot is down like, I don't know.
9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
All right. I am here with Wiser Oner. We're here for another episode of On the Other Side of the Tattoo. And it is December 31st, 2017. It's New Year's Eve. We're here in Philadelphia. Wiser has just moved to Philadelphia.
I did.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome to Philly by way of Florida, by way of Denver. And Wiser is a buddy of mine. We've known each other for a few years now. He is a makeup artist, a body painter, not a technically makeup artist, but a special effects makeup artist. You may have seen him on Naked Vegas. What else have you been on?
Been on also Face Off, which is another sci-fi show, and just a bunch of little productions. I've been on the news a bunch. I don't know.
What are you on the news for? Like on cops?
No, nothing bad. Always good stuff. One time it was for a controversy, but you know, it's one of those things where it's you don't expect stuff like that to happen.
Right. Well, you got to elaborate. I mean, you can't just say you were on
well, I mean, it's kind of a crazy story. Long story short, though, we did a mural on a head shop in Denver.
Okay.
And the city, like there was some people in the city council who thought because it was an Alice in Wonderland mural on the side of a head shop that was going to encourage kids to do drugs somehow. And so we had to say, no, it's not. It's like you can find the same depictions in the children's section at the library,
sure.
You know? And so it was a big thing. ACLU ended up representing us.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and it was like a 3-year court case.
Well, I mean, to be honest, Alice in Wonderland does encourage a little bit of curiosity. Like you can't be a kid and have seen her eating mushrooms and it's like,
true, but every
caterpillars smoking and like having this all like crazy mind-blowing experiences and all that stuff. I mean,
absolutely,
it opens up the mind a little bit in that direction.
But how many kids haven't seen Alice in Wonderland?
No, I'm not saying that your mural did it. I'm saying that the movie did it.
It was kind of funny though because we were pushing the line a little bit,
sure.
like it was extra trippy, and like I believe one of the dude who did the White Rabbit, buddy of mine, Cairns. He actually, the first rendition of the mural, he had a big pill on his tongue, and we ended up kind of like.
I don't remember that scene in the movie, but yeah,
exactly. So we tamed it down. Mural stayed for almost 10 years.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah. Very good. Well, you won that one. So, and that's actually what we're going to be doing here today, guys. Like a lot of people are out running around today, and we are just, chilling out, hanging out before it's time to go out. We're going to grab some grub here in town, maybe do the downtown scene, maybe hit the bars. But it's a cheaper for me. I've been sober coming up on 20 years. Wiser, you are very Denver. So we're gonna touch on that a little bit and just kind of kick it like that. We're gonna recap some of the stuff from 2017 on this day that everybody's mostly out doing some stuff. So we're gonna kill some time, recap some of the crazy things that went down. And we hope you guys have a good time with it. Speaking of which, coming from Denver, you and I talk a lot of stuff on the side, which is like, we're like, this is why we got to do a podcast together. Yeah. Because we hit a lot of these subjects and we come from two opposites. You know what I mean? I had my time where I ran around and did crazy stuff. And, like I said, I have been sober coming up on 20. But, there's a lot of things that I still have a lot of different points of view of it, right? I'm not a straight edger. I'm not any of that stuff. I did it because I needed to stop for my own reasons. Being older now and knowing a lot of what's going on and like the questions about legalization and all of this new exploration into psychedelics and, even in like a medicinal level, like finally Johns Hopkins is finally studying psychedelics and mushrooms and, the ayahuasca and all that shit. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, ayahuasca.
Yeah, ayahuasca. And all of that. And it's crazy to me because now I'm hearing these like studies and these reading this information that people are exploring and like, dude, that was me at like 15. Like everything that you're seeing now and all these realizations you're having about this and this way that you can like, go back into the self and like heal like from post-traumatic stress syndromes and things like that, and depression and things. And they're finding this, that they're able to unlock these damaged parts of the mind and actually help the mind, the brain, to explore different routes, right? To kind of circumvent damage through these mind altering states. So it's kind of like, man, why did I have to get like so crazy? And like, I was like, got sober in the wrong era. But, you know, super grateful for my sobriety. So I'm really excited to have this kind of be around in this day and age where I get to see people explore these things and see the stereotypes change on these types of drugs, but get to come at it from a sober perspective. Yeah. So it's cool. So I'm really into that. And we were talking about it the other day where you were like, you're an advocate, right, for the legalization
Absolutely.
Of marijuana and things like that, both medical and recreational.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So you're saying it in your own words, your position on it all is?
So, I drink. I don't drink as much as like the average person would, you know. I've actually, since probably a young age, I've been kind of tend towards smoking versus drinking. Mm-hmm. And, you know, working in bars, I used to be a DJ, and, you know, I used to do other things in bars, lots of different bars. So, you know, I kind of like have lots of experience dealing with, you know, intoxication in various forms, you know, and like me personally, I've always tended to stay away from, you know, I don't like the way it feels to be hungover, you know, and it was always marijuana that helped the hangovers, you know, when they did happen, you know, but I'm not against it. And I just think that people should have a alternative to drinking, you know, and like, it's not just, there's lots of different types of, you know, substances that can be included, but, you know, speaking strictly marijuana speaking, you know, I'm all for it, legalized across the board, just like alcohol. You know, the other things that I kind of intrigue me the same as you, the psychedelic kind of scientific research and the studies of it being antidepressant and those types of things. Like, you know, I don't necessarily think like, you know, I tripped a bunch when I was younger. I don't necessarily think I was in a good mindset to understand what my mind is telling me in these like hallucinogenic altered consciousness. Yeah. You know, but now I feel like in a controlled setting, if you know, you could unlock parts of your mind. Yeah.
I don't even think it has to do with being in a controlled setting. I just think it has to be, you know, I mean, in the medical aspect, yeah, but like, you know, we weren't in a controlled setting. We were just wild ass kids, but yeah, it definitely was mind expanding. For me, you know, when we talk about this, cause I kind of stand with this, like if you're going to have alcohol be illegal, I actually think marijuana is less dangerous than alcohol, much less, but I also am not on the other side of that. I don't get my information from, you know, High Times magazine only. So I don't buy this whole thing that like, oh, there has never been any evidence that anybody's ever died from marijuana smoke, right? But I know potheads that died from cancer, lung cancer. But you know, they won't associate it, and they'll say like nobody's ever been whatever. That's because it's an illegal drug, so they don't actually record it. Yeah, there's not like studies on it to show that yes, of course, inhaling carcinogens causes cancer. You're supposed to drink water and eat food, you know what I mean? Yeah. And drink water and breathe air. Sorry, is what I was going with that. Breathe air, not breathe any carcinogens, period. Right. It's bad. Like, you know, they tell you don't eat burned food because of the carcinogens, Absolutely. You know? So like, and I smoke cigars. So I'm not like saying, hey, you know, like I've got this all figured out. But I think that you got to be realistic about stuff, right? So people, this like snake oil mentality around marijuana is to me just as bad as anything else, right? Like selling bullshit, it harms it, right? It harms the potential good. And we talked about this. I dislike when a group fights for ultimately recreational use, but they first mask it as medicinal. And that happened in Denver. It was like, oh, it's all got to be medicinal. Absolutely. It helps everybody. Absolutely. And you knew when the guy's on there, like, you know, protesting for medicinal use, which is the gateway to then, you know, make it recreational. I would have been fully behind him just being like, we are here to support recreational and we over here are here to support medicinal. And I would have been down with it, but you knew it was fake because the dude's standing there in a Grateful Dead shirt and flip-flops and cut off jean shorts and blue glasses. And you're just like, come on, man. Like I was you, like, oh, I was never quite that, but I was like, you're full of shit. And it undermines the story. It undermines the direction.
It does in ways.
And so I'm for it. I think it's okay, but I dislike the ruse because nobody's dumb enough to think that that's not where it's going.
No, well, and even I was, I think it was like 8 or 9 years ago when Denver first went medicinal, and you had to have a prescription. There was the flood of like, oh, go to this doctor, and I went to one of those doctors. You pay $100 and he gives you a prescription.
You're cured
for your knee pain or whatever. You know what I mean? And I would have smoked either way, with or without the prescription. Sure. But I think the thing that the prescription offered people who smoke regularly was the peace of mind of not going to freaking jail for smoking some pot, especially when you got people drinking and driving every day, all the time.
Right.
We just want to like smoke some weed. But, on the other aspect of it too, like, smoking pot helps me, I guess, for lack of a better term, keep my head right, so like it's not necessarily, I wouldn't consider it an addiction because when I have to go to somewhere where there's no pot, I'm not like fiending and I'm not having a bad day because I didn't get to smoke pot that day. But when I do need to get my head right, that's what that's for.
Yeah. Which is an interesting expression because getting your head right is just getting fucked up. Like there's nothing, it doesn't align some sort of like structure of the mind that lets you see through walls. Like it doesn't blow your mind open to this way to perceive things that aren't there that other people can't see. It just gets you fucked up in the way that you want to be fucked up.
True.
Because I know like mind-blowing people that are completely sober, either are now sober or have always been sober, and they're as creative, if not more creative than somebody else. So I feel like sometimes, once again, that snake oil spread gets put on it because we used to smoke and it didn't do anything other than get us high. We didn't want to not be high. So then we smoked and then we were high, but it didn't like elevate us to some different plane. And it didn't like give us something that, somebody else didn't have in the world, in the greater scheme of things. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? It didn't make us love more. It didn't make us like smarter. It didn't make us any of those things. It just put us in a state that we wanted to be in. Like family members or people, when I grew up, I had lots of friends of the family that drank from morning to night. That's just how they did. And they weren't considered an alcoholic, but they drank the entire day. You know what I mean? It was like crack beers in the morning and go, to get their head right or whatever. So it's like, while personal choice is important, I think that sometimes that the weird idea gets attached to it that somehow it is a necessity. And anything that you feel is like a necessity to operate, I think is a gray area to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Personally,
absolutely.
like you said, like if you get somewhere where you're not able to get any, you're still you.
Yeah.
You can still do everything you do and well,
Absolutely. Well, and it's not a cure-all. It's not snake, like that snake oil aspect where it's like, this will cure whatever ails you. Yes and no. It just depends on like your pain tolerance. It depends on a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like now that it's been legalized recreational and there's been a good 5 years of medicinal development in the Denver scene, I guess, like
the scene period.
They're making strides in the actual medicinal quality of stuff to where they're making products, which I'm starting to now prefer, where, the concentrates, the CBD products that are non-psychoactive, that are actually, those are the pain killing medicinal properties,
right?
And the things that help the people with the seizures, and
yeah, there's no question. We've all
part,
seen that, man. Like the part with the seizures and all of that, like, and the older dude with Parkinson's that they show you, the dude with Tourette's that like is constantly in motion, he can't hold anything still. And then when they do either the oil or they smoke or whatever, and you see like a 1,000% improvement. I mean, somebody who can't even speak goes back to like having a clear, calm conversation. A child that's seizing 100 times a day, a little bit of oil on the gums, and they're like, can go to school and can function. Like, there's no question about that. And I think that's stuff that it's unfortunate that it wasn't it was clumped into this narcotic brand, decades ago in the 60s and 70s, and just kind of made as this, like, look at it like crack.
Yeah.
So you were never able to find out, well, they didn't explore what the medicinal purposes were.
Like
right.
Back in the day, reefer madness and all that, like,
oh yeah,
they had political and industrial reasons for villainizing, pot, and that had nothing to do with getting stoned. I think getting stoned was just kind of like a byproduct.
Yeah, well, they were trying to crush the rebellion of free
Absolutely.
thinking
and then the getting stoned part. Like, I think that like it's helped like develop the actual medicinal parts. Where if the hippie guy who's sitting there going, "This is medicine, bro," like, if it wasn't for him in the first place, then these strides wouldn't be made.
I don't necessarily agree with that, because people were smoking weed before potheads got blown out. You know what I mean? Like, people have been using marijuana for a lot longer than that. I think that those people were used to discredit the use of it. I think the way that they would stereotype any group, any ethnic group, or any socioeconomic group, like UFO sightings, they pumped it onto us that it was always swamp gas with, Wilbur out in the middle of the swamp, like he was the only one that saw UFOs. And that would discredit the Navy pilots who encountered one, you know what I mean? And like, whatever. And I don't mean, I'm not talking.
You're acting like Wilbur.
Right. And I'm not talking about just alien. I'm talking about just the UFO, concept. So I think that's what was kind of like a byproduct, was that they constantly grouped in that Cheech and Chong attitude towards everybody that smoked weed. And I think that was like a really useful way to just discredit the whole group. To be like, you're all like this, and it makes you like that, and it's going to burn you out. Right. And I think that that's actually intentional from the powers that like try to keep something, repressed, or keep it like looking a certain negative way. It's misinformation.
Yeah.
So it's funny that like Cheech and Chong may have actually like contributed to, and not even might have, but definitely contributed to the stereotyping of, if you smoke pot, you're an idiot. You know what I mean?
That's true. Well, and another kind of way I see it now is that if it would never have gotten to a space where scientists could do things like extract the parts of the molecules that are non-psychoactive, that are the medicinal qualities, and give those to where they're needed.
Sure.
Like, that wouldn't exist. Because just with the legalities of it, like, there would never have been like scientists and botanists who are like, okay, I want to do weed. I want to grow weed. I want to like extract, I want to do, there's actual scientists and minds that are looking at it from a completely scientific standpoint, who may or may not be stoners. I know I don't really consider myself a stoner. To me, a stoner is literally like, the stereotypical smoke weed all day, watch some TV, play some video games, don't really do anything productive.
Right.
I believe that there's a lot more people out there who are stoned, but who are very productive.
Absolutely.
Very high producing types of people. And I think that, I was raised to believe that marijuana was just as bad as doing heroin, cocaine, and only criminals did it and everything. So, when I turned, the first time I smoked pot, I was probably like 17 or something. When I first tried it and was like, oh, this isn't bad. Like they say it's a gateway and all this stuff, but like, really, if it was like beer, where it's like, all right, kids, you can't drink beer, but when you're of a certain age, you can. Yeah. It takes away that whole lie of, this is going to turn you into this or that, or criminal, or
and I agree with that. But I think, just to counter the gateway part, I think the gateway is misunderstood. Some people look at it in a simplified version that says pot is the first step on a ladder to crack, right? Like, that's literally this thing, but it's not. It's an attention to detail and allowance in your life. If you have structures and foundations, it will not allow you to participate in an illegal activity, then you will not participate in an illegal activity, period.
Until you have access.
No, that's not absolutely not. I know people that have grew up with pot dealing parents that never even tried it. So that's not accurate. Access means nothing. It's whether or not you allow yourself to participate in activities outside of the social norm, period. Whether it's public masturbation, whether it's smoking some weed, whether it's underage drinking, whether it's drinking and driving, whether it's a hit and run, whatever it is, the gateway concept on a more sophisticated level was that you live within parameters of society that society constructed to keep people alive, to keep people safe, to keep people like really from dying so that you could have babies and procreate and move on to the next thing. So that's like at the larger concept of gateway. It's the what you will and will not allow. Like if you're going to try and make it into, if you're university and profession minded and all of that, which I was not, I was completely, I did everything. I did tons of drugs. I went to jail, I did all this stuff. And, but if you're trying to go down this other path and you're trying to live down this certain way, it's just a parameter. So when they say that, this gateway thing, you're allowing yourself to break out of that structure that could take you down a particular path that is ideal by parents, a lot of parents, for their children to go down so that they have the best chance of not getting arrested, of completing an education without interference, of landing a particular kind of job and doing whatever.
Well, I guess that's what gets me about why what I would call the truth isn't told. And because there are drugs out there that will fuck you up and ruin your life. And you don't want to do those because they quite literally can fuck you up really fast. You could be like perfectly functioning and then within a few months, just have your whole fucking world upside down.
Sure.
But pot is definitely not one of those. And like for somebody like me who was always told what I consider a lie, that pot was this, and this, after smoking pot and going, oh, wow, well, if pot isn't as bad as they say it was,
then maybe the next one is
Coke isn't bad too. And then there I am.
But that's the gateway.
But it would have been less of a gateway though, had it been like, hey, fuck with it or not. It's not that bad. But when you're on it, this, just like when you're drunk, this, but you don't like make, it's like, I don't know. To me, it's like lying to kids doesn't help them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it does. But you gotta just for the sake of argument, and I argue both sides of this. I actually don't, like I said, I don't really not that far against it. If you're gonna have alcohol legal, I don't really see the problem in having weed legal as long as it's a commodity and you're taxing it and people are making money on it. Fuck it. Like I'd rather that than just cartels making the money. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Or the CIA. But that's a whole nother story. But I still think you're missing one perspective, that it is that if it's a child and you're not wanting to say, hey, this drug has zero consequences, go for it. You know what I mean? That's not true, because if you're breaking down that wall of saying, hey, fuck it, go ahead and try this, I think conversations about moderation are a lot more relevant. And if you're going to explore, here are some of the things I experienced in my life. Like, these are the drugs that were presented to me as a kid, and I'm just theorizing here. If you were to say that to a kid, hey, when I was a kid, I did participate in X, Y, and Z. I had friends that participated in X, Y, and Z. These are the consequences I saw from that. These things took place. But to say that there's no consequence from smoking, right? So you're 16, 17, 18, you're getting ready, you're getting ready to get out of school, you got college lined up, you got all this stuff. You get in a car, somebody's like, yo, man, got this weed, blah, blah, blah. You're like, it's not a big deal. You've been told it's not a big deal. You're like, awesome, dope, take it, smoke it, pulled over, arrested. Now you got a charge. Now your school has changed. Now your future is dramatically altered completely. And everything that you said could not come from that does.
Because it's illegal.
It's a child. It still has to be illegal. You can't be like, oh, we're going to make weed legal and children can smoke it. I mean, you got to still have to have.
Well, and actually in Colorado, teens who take use of pot is down, like, I don't know, I think the number said it,
right,
like within 15%.
And that's cool, but that's still just like high times fodder to just talk about one subject, which is, yes, it can. It absolutely can change your complete life. You can go over to the weed guy's house and DEA can bust him right then. And yeah, you're saying because it's illegal or whatever, but it could be a legal grow house. And that grow house, just like in Denver, how that chain of them just got shut down because they weren't following the per gram sale and all of that.
Absolutely.
That stuff can change it. So what is incorrect, in my opinion, whether it's alcohol, whether it's weed, whether it's any life experience, is trying to wrap it all up and say, this thing has zero consequence and this does. You know what I mean? And trying to say that there is no consequence that can come from weed, even if it was legal, it's untrue. Because life can affect you in a million different ways than you expected.
True.
Whether it's marijuana, whether it's alcohol, whether it's driving a car and you get in that accident, whatever.
You never know what's going to happen.
You just don't know what's going to happen. So like, I don't think you should be pitching that this is safe or that is unsafe. I think you should, I'm really a big fan of moderation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like explaining things in a real way. And like you said, just don't lie to me. But they're not lying to you by saying that can actually adversely affect your life. It's not a lie.
No, it's not, but it's not going to it's not a lie, but it's not a truth either. You know, it's
yes, it is. It can absolutely adversely affect your life. So can having a beer.
Yes.
And getting in the car.
But that's the thing. If it's presented where it's like like you said, in moderation, with responsibility.
Yeah, like don't hear and I hear
time on beer.
Right, because they're going to be talking about how they're talking about now how they're going to, just like with weed or just like with alcohol, you're not going to be able to smoke while under the influence, or drive while under the influence. But they're going crazy. There's one now, like if somebody in the car was high, that's also connected. So the laws are going to be screwed up for a while, but that's going to happen as well. And smokers will be like, no, bullshit, nothing happens. Of course you could be able to smoke and drive. You're totally fine. Not true. No, you're impaired. Impaired is impaired. And so that's going to be a big gray area. So you're going to have people going to jail for smoking while under the influence.
And they should.
Yeah,
absolutely. You should not operate machinery whilst it's just like any medication.
Right,
you know what
right.
I mean?
Yeah, just like any other medicine.
You can't take Percocets for your shoulder surgery and get in a car and drive because it makes you drowsy. It alters your state.
Right. And that's the big part of it too, because marijuana and all these edibles and all this crap, we talked about this. You were like, I'm excited about those coming in because, there's these purposes. And I'm like, right. But this falls right in line with Big Farm and, or pharma. I guess people like to say pharma because farm, they think of like growing orange. But, the Big Pharma that they're just going to get excited that they can over medicate again. Just like opiates, you know what I mean? Just like Percocets, just like Oxycontins, just like, all of the other things that people over medicate because there's this group of the population that is convinced they need to be fucked up, whether it's legal or not. And I feel like there's this huge problem with over medicating. I think that's a very serious problem with humans, including weed. Anything that we need to constantly feel different than how we're supposed to feel at that moment. Like you cheat yourself out of so much psychological and emotional growth by constantly being in a subdued state of mind. It's ridiculous. Like you should experience loss and pain and misery and boredom and joy and love and compassion and pain. You should do those things.
But we're mammals, though, isn't it? What? Mammals. We're mammals, right?
Okay.
And so, like mammals, like in general, living creatures, I guess, like any wild thing. Oh, not wild animal, I guess.
Okay.
Is looking for three. There's only 3 or 4 major, like, kind of instinct things that every animal, including ourselves, has, like. Deep-seated, what's it called? Innate.
Okay.
And that is to feed ourselves so we're not hungry, find shelter, and to stay away from pain and to procreate. So like generally, like any animal won't do anything to cause it its own pain.
That's just self-preservation. You don't want to get injured because you don't have antiseptics and you might die from a scratch and get gangrene. But yeah, so nothing wants to get harmed because then it can't chase its prey or find its sustenance and eat.
Well, I mean, like pretty much every living thing tends to stay away from anything that causes it pain is what I'm trying to say.
Harm, right.
Harm, pain.
Right.
It's essentially, if it causes pain that's harmful, go away from it.
Sure.
Is essentially, what it is. So I think that, I'm not disagreeing with you that everybody's over medicating at the same time.
Yeah.
Like there's deeper general psychological reasons in human beings that are instinctual that make them prone to over medicating.
Yeah. It's called marketing. What are you talking about? Like millions of years we existed, or 6,000, but until Eckerd's and, Walgreens was on the corner, like we weren't doing that. There was like, the monks came up with beer, like not all that long ago in the span of our evolution, you know what I mean? And wines and stuff like that. And like the Romans drank watered down wine. They didn't even drink wine. To drink wine, pure wine would have been considered like disgusting. Like nobody would do that. They drink like a half and half mix of wine and water. Yeah. They didn't get like annihilated.
They were sipping that sizzler.
They were just, yeah. So like, I don't think that's accurate to say that mankind always looked for a state of consciousness that wasn't, or physical being that wasn't in line with the day-to-day activity. I would have thought they would have had to been hyper aware and very cautious of the world they lived in. You did have the shaman and stuff like that would take you on like a, psychological or psychedelic experience or a spiritual experience, but that wasn't every day. These cats weren't waking up in the morning being like, whoa, time to eat some peyote, like every day, all day.
No, it was a ritual, a rite of passage.
Sure, and
that's
rare.
Something that doesn't exist anymore.
Yes, it does.
Well, I mean, like,
we do it in a tribal sense. We all get together. We do shit. Man, I went to raves as a kid. Like that was massive, and taking X and doing all that and feeling that tribal feel.
However, though, I mean, like it's a completely different context than having like a shaman or a mentor or some type of like guiding figure,
right,
to kind of like help you through what you're going through at the time.
Right. But that's furthering my point, is that like, it was not a daily thing. That's just in mass marketing. That's just in like convincing people that they should be happier than they are, that they should feel less pain than they do, that they need to be in a different state. You know what I mean? And you just pump that shit onto them. Like, here, you need this, you need this, you need this. That's just marketing to me. I don't think man in his natural state wanted to be like twisted. I think he's like watching out for things that could come at him out of the woods. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a much more aware existence.
Absolutely.
But we do live in a different time. We live in this space. It's a reality of now. So if we're going to live in it, I'm a huge fan or believer that you just have to teach the moderation. You have to teach the responsibility. I would never tell a kid like, yo, don't ever do anything for no reason without an explanation, because you're just leaving the gap way too far open. They'd be like, what is this abyss that I cannot see into? Tell me what is going on here. I would be straight up and explain anything to anybody that ever asked, because I had the whole gambit, man. I did, my first thing was like, smoke a weed out of a Coke can, like bit in half with holes poked in it, smoking in paint fumes, that was on the outside of the can, all the way through all the designer drugs and, eventually addiction and stuff like that. So, I feel like I've got a good perspective on it. And I think you should talk like that. I mean, I think you should have all this. So it is an interesting time. It'll be cool to see where this goes. It doesn't seem to be stopping, even with like idiots like Jeff Sessions up in, DC saying that weed should be, it's just like crack.
Money now.
He's just an idiot.
The money's spoken. Like the politicians are now seeing, because of Colorado and Washington, they're now seeing how much tax revenue it brings in. So they're starting to change their tunes on that.
I think that's a kind of a smoker's perspective, that somehow politicians didn't have economists that could show them exactly what dollar amount could be made. I think that's kind of naive. I don't think that they did not know it would make money. I think they absolutely know it would make money. And I think that you still have to, I think they just bided their time and were like, all right, like they worked out the deals with Farm, because pharmaceutical companies are going to own this shit. Like, trust that. Like, all the big pharmaceutical companies will buy out and control all the farms once they're established. They will allow all these growers to develop it all, to make it as good as it can. And the Fed will come in, because it's still legal federally, and just swipe it all. Like, I have no doubt that that's what will eventually, just like tobacco or anything else. It will be heavily managed. It will be supervised, and the government's going to get theirs.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It will happen.
Absolutely.
But so I don't think that it's like that, like green energy. Like, everyone knows, like, you can't run the world on coal. There's a finite amount of coal. There's a finite amount of oil. Nobody's that stupid, despite what anybody in DC tries to tell you. They all know it's going green. Industry's pushing it to green. There's no choice. There's no question. Oil, if you're a coal miner, I'm sorry, you're out. And even if we switched all back to coal, they would just build more robots to do it. It's not a thing. You're never going to have, it's not real. It's all gone. It's all going to green as it should. Industry demands that. And the same thing will happen with this. I mean, it's coming.
Well, and shit's starting to move more towards like green solar, all that stuff. Yeah. But one of the main things holding it back for a long time has been the fact that, cost over profit, essentially.
I think it's just that the people that were already making billions and trillions of dollars didn't want to let go. And as the industry as the market demands it, they're the ones positioning themselves to release that. Like Exxon is already BP and all these guys are changing their colors to green and stuff like that. So they can come in and say, look what we brought you.
You know what I mean? Time spilling that oil.
Yeah. So it'll happen, but it's cool, man. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. I'm a fan of it. I think that, people should be allowed to, make their own choices to a much wider regard when it comes to marijuanas and stuff. And I'm really excited to see what it does medicinally, especially on the psychedelics, because that could be crazy. That could be a whole new mind expansion.
Absolutely. Experiment. Especially if it's rebuilding synapses or whatever, know what I mean? That's like some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like that's some brain hardwire shit.
Yeah. That's what they're doing with the soldiers and people that are having other post-traumatic stress syndromes. They're able to help them revamp that. I mean, that to me will be just awesome. So those are some of the things that in the current political climate of 2017 we saw that are coming in. Some of the other stuff we're sort of on the same page with when it comes to current state of affairs, current elected officials, this madness that's coming out of DC, and this riding off of the last 8 years increase at every level, whether you're talking the stock market, whether you're talking job employment, whether you're talking about everything. You ride this thing till the fiscal season ends 2 months ago, and then say it's all me, and it's bullshit. So we'll have to see what happens in the next couple of years. But with that, I don't think there's a lot of debate between us. We like what we like, we dislike what we dislike, and let's see up there. So we're all not kind of on the same page with that. With sexual assault and all of that, we talked about, we were looking at the headlines from 2017, and I had touched on this with a previous podcast with Vanny Vicious, and we were talking about, we talked about it, Vanny and Annabelle Peaks, which was interesting because Annabelle Peaks is an adult star, and Vanny Vicious is a kind of an internet sensation. She's got 4.2 million followers on Facebook and stuff like that, and makes her entire living off of her controlled exposure of herself physically. You know what I mean? So it's cool to watch, it's always this weird debate about whether it's empowering or whether it's, subjugating themselves or whatever. But people, these ladies in particular, I was interested in their point of view on sexual assault. And I even asked Annabelle Peaks, which is, like I said in a previous podcast, what she saw as sexual assault in the porn industry. Because that's crazy, right? Because from the outside, you'd be like, there's no sexual assault in there. They all want it. You know what I mean? And people can have that kind of ignorant attitude towards it. But she touched in on that. And that's been a crazy explosion, man. Whole industries that were we all knew it was like that. You always know that people in power, dominate over people that were trying to get somewhere, or you can hold that over them, that I have this power, whether it was man to man or man to woman, or some women to men, women to women, et cetera. And just seeing all that blow up is really good because, pages have to turn. Absolutely. You have to shut this stuff down at some point. And even activities and actions of older men in my family, or old guys you saw growing up that pinch girls on the butt, and be like, give me some sugar.
It only goes so far.
Now, and it finally hit this point. So that's been something awesome about 2017 is all of that changing. Cause I don't think it'll ever be quite the same. Will inappropriate activities and dominance take place still? Of course. But I don't think you're going to be in a industry again that is just quiet, and you're said to be
too easy
quiet.
To get called out now.
Too easy.
With the internet, awesome. There's so many channels to get prove it. You know what I mean? It can easily be proved with a screenshot or it's not the same as it was now with the technology. And I think there's a lot of us that realize that.
Yeah.
And there's another bunch of us that are going to be men and women that are going to start watching what they do more.
Sure.
Because out of maybe basically fear of getting caught or not wanting to get caught, and then there's everybody else that's just moral and doesn't do fucked up shit.
Right. Well, and because, you mentioned that thing about until you're presented. How did you word it with the marijuana thing? Until you're given the opportunity, the exposure to it, however you worded it.
Yeah.
It's like a quote I heard, several times, which was a man that is as faithful as his options. Sort of the same kind of attitude, like you will allow yourself to do something if you get that opportunity. And I think that's fundamentally what is changing, is that like you were almost, as a guy, you were almost expected to act that certain way. And that's something that hasn't really been talked about a lot in this, right? Because right now it's all about victim role. And that's true. And the victims absolutely need the floor right now. They need to speak up, blah, blah, blah. But that's not going to fix anything. That's just addressing what already happened. So to get back behind that and be like, why did this happen? Why did a little boy and a little girl who grew up on the playground together, once he reached this certain position, decide that he could just like, to quote a moron, grab her by the pussy? You know what I mean? Like, to do that thing. Why was that okay? And that's where you got to get to. You can't just be like, oh, he's a bad person, and that wraps it all up.
Right.
You got to go back to the idea that like we as guys would sit around and have this type of dialogue. And I don't think you should ever stop shit talking. I mean, shit talking is fun. Like, people should be able to be comfortable with each other. Some of my best shit talking is with girls that I know that are just like, fun and raw and talk mad shit about whatever. But this like idea that when you grow up and you hit this point and you do this, this is how you start acting. This is being masculine. This is being successful. This is how you talk to a woman. And, in a very degrading turn. And it's like, you're like you talked about rite of passage, a lot of cultures and groups and communities will pump that into those males, those kids, and let them think that as they grow up, they've got to start addressing people like that. And they got to start talking to women like that. And that's at the fundamental level. That's what you have to stop. Yeah. And it's not about like over feminizing kids, but it is about like changing what the perception of masculinity is.
Absolutely.
About what it means to be a man versus what it means to be a man. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like a real man would like, that whole cliche, like the politeness, the respect, the courtesy, the compassion, using that strength that they might innately have and expressing that in a form of compassion. You know what I mean? Same reason you don't beat a dog. It's like you can physically dominate that animal, but to be compassionate and to be comfortable with yourself, you don't do that.
Absolutely.
You control them with like, teaching and understanding and repetitive training, instead of just kicking the shit out of them. And same thing with the power play. Like, I think that gets less attention than it should, that's how you stop the future male from projecting that onto a female, is don't teach him to do it.
That's the thing, imprinting. Like, I mean, and then on an instinctual level, like we pretty much do what we see being done.
Right.
Like we're imprinted from the age of 2 on.
Right.
To just, and a lot of times it's psychological and repressed. And like a lot of dudes are, I was one of them, are grown up to, real men do this. Real men don't cry. Real men don't do, or do this, real men drive trucks and work on cars and, all this stuff. Well, not really realizing that it leads to stuff like repression of self, repression of, like me, I guess if I lived up to the standards that were told to me what a real man is, like whatever, like me, like, fuck it. I'm a real man who works in a industry of mostly women with almost all women. I don't like trucks. I don't like sports. I love art. I love creating things. You know what I'm saying? Like my grandpa ain't going to tell me I'm not a real man because I like doing this versus that, or I don't drive this versus that, or treat people a certain way. And it like, there's lots and lots of people, cramping my leg. There's lots of people who are literally imprinted and ingrained with certain types of behavior.
Right.
And it sucks that, that there's men out there who, kind of instinctually based off of imprinting, treating people a certain way. Luckily it's kind of fizzling out, and it's
fizzling out, but at the same time, it's being shown as like the example from the highest position in our nation.
Absolutely.
And that's the problem when like, I plan on having some podcasts with some of my friends that fully support the current administration, and try to like just have this dialogue where it's like, the reason it matters is because the example that is being shown to children is that this is okay. It's okay to be xenophobic. It's okay to be domineering. It's okay to be sexual predator and to be an assaulter and like brag about it and like all of that. And that does matter. It matters that somebody like that is actually projected as negative, not positive.
Right.
And it needs to happen. And it doesn't, this idea that, yeah, but we're going to take home $50 more on our check. And it's like, dude, that's irrelevant. That's fucking money. It comes and goes. I mean, money's important, but it's not that fucking important when the next generation grows up acting like people did 50, 70, 100 years ago. And that stuff matters, man.
Yeah.
And like, kids got to know that this is just a mistake in time where we kind of let what was important get clouded. And, you know, it's tough for them. And I get it. Like, they always take it as such an offense if you know, you say something against it, because they're all in, because they bought in, and that's their team now. And we treat everything like a fucking football game and nothing like diplomacy, where people actually with multiple perspectives come together, they talk rationally, they do what's best for the collective. They're just like no holds barred. They're like, fuck that other side. I don't care if it drives me directly into poverty and I lose all my healthcare, I lose everything else. As long as my team that's being led by billionaires gets richer, I win somehow. And you're like, no, you don't. You keep fucking losing and you don't understand it. And just pacifying people with crumbs while you eat steak, you know what I mean? Just keeps perpetuating the problem.
Yeah.
So hopefully, the firecrackers going off or something, is that what they say, bubble wrap or something? So, you know, changing it from the ground up. So awesome. You know, that's another good one with the whole exploitation. And while you say it is fizzling out, I agree. And I think that almost it's like that crab, like, you know, he's about to die, but he's like, fuck it, I'm going to drag the last one back with me. I feel like it's just that last ditch for that ideal that never really was, right? Yeah. That this is how the country should be, and this is the color of the country should be, and this is how like I should be in it. And I feel like this is like that last scream. And I hope for that. I hope that they get that, and I hope that we are collectively able to, even in the way I'm addressing this now, it isn't very inclusive. This separation between rural and urban needs to be connected, because the separation is massive. Like you saw that in the elections. And in 10 years from now, 70% of the nation is going to live in cities, period. So the rural has almost no vote in the future. And they know that. And that's why they're grabbing at this right now. Even in the elections, the presidential elections, if you went and looked at counties that had major cities, even states that went completely red, the counties that had major cities did not. Even Texas, it was like, you know, Dallas, Houston, Austin, those cities were blue, because they live in communities. They live with each other. They all experience each other. They know that you don't have to be fearful of everything. You can actually like get along, and it works better that way. So I don't want to perpetuate that negative ideal either. There just needs to be that, and you don't know how the hell it's going to come, but there needs to be something that reunifies, right? The collective.
Accountability.
The whole collective, though, as a national and as a global level, like these weird ideas that globalism is bad. Globalism started, guys, when, you know, we came over as Spaniards and like landed on the other side of the globe and then had commerce back to Europe. Like, That's globalism. We went on the search for spice in India and ran into this, you know what I mean? Yeah. So like to live here, that was literally a global experiment, is an experiment in globalism. And then to be like globalism is a bad thing. It's not. It's an inevitable thing. And if you have a phone and you talk to people in other countries, or you buy a phone, or you're on this listening to this now on devices that came from the other side of the globe, you can't keep saying these things that are just like archaic and don't make sense. Yeah. So how we cross that is really like one of the next questions, right? For the next generations.
Absolutely.
And I hope to do, you know, I'm really into these podcasts now, and I feel that with the white noise that comes from general media is important. The media is not fake. It's not fake news. It's biased news. Information is real. How whatever network spins it to suit their own agenda and sell more advertising is the spin on it, but it's typically not fake. And if it is misrepresented, they typically come out and say it. Like people are like, oh, CNN had to retract that they said this incorrectly. Right, but they retracted it. Fox doesn't. Like they just don't just say whatever, or Breitbart or whatever. If a plane crashes, that plane really crashed. Yeah. Whether you say it was the pilot's fault or some, terrorist plot and with no information, that's the fake part. But the plane really crashed. So I think that you have to take all that in, but then open dialogue. On platforms like this, on podcasts, on free thinking, right? Everybody should just get up, talk, and not just search your comments on Facebook to read things that fit your agenda, right? That fit your narrative.
Opinion's not the same as news.
It's not. It's that's all newsertainment, and I think that
newsertainment.
It's all newsertainment, yeah, because that's all it is now. It's if anything has bright lights and flashing bulbs and dramatic music, like that's just bad. The news used to be boring and direct and specific because they were just telling you facts, like details of what happened in a day. And it was not entertaining. It was boring as shit, but it was real information and then you processed it. Yeah. But we all need to do this and have these kind of long dialogues. And I trust me, anybody listening, we are going to be getting in people that conflict with my points of view, because this does no good. We're just hanging out. We're just talking shit. Right. But we need people that have multiple points of view so that it can be talked out. And that's what I recommend heavily. There's a guy in our industry, man, and I'm so bummed. He put out a post recently that said he was looking for somebody to work the front counter of his shop. And he was like, and no liberals or Democrats because you don't work out anyway. And I'm like, dude, like you are somebody that made a living off of multiple ethnic backgrounds working in your shops and making you the money that you sit on. Like, don't start like trying to like draw these lines in the United States saying, if you have a particular political affiliation or opinion, you need not come here. That sounds a lot like whites only. That sounds a lot like male only, or
my opinion only,
or Catholic only, or anything only. Like that's you're going back like badly. And for somebody that's like in this industry, this world today, that would start reverting like that, it hurts me. It hurts me like deeply because I care about the person. And to see posts like that or ideas like that, it's like, man,
nobody can have conversations anymore. It's either I'm right and you're wrong, fuck you, or we'll agree to disagree, like it's that whole bias thing. Like honestly, like the world would advance a lot more if people would be open to conversation and discussion. It doesn't always have to be a debate or an argument. Like a discussion is not the same.
Right.
And I mean, even though they have debates during races, political races, like calling it a debate is such a negative word. And even there's discussion forums on the internet, but I mean, like, that doesn't really go anywhere because like the discussions that need to be had.
Those aren't full discussions. You're talking about like a stream of quick blurb comments under a topic where everybody just attacks each other and it's all just sided out.
Well, right.
This is good though. Like what we do, like these type of environments. So they're happening more and more. And I mean, these are wide ranging. Like podcasts today, I think is like really the next level, right? Like that's why I'm participating at any level that I can, simply to get out my experiences, other people's experiences and point of views, and hope that goes out to anybody. And I think that more people should do it. I think everybody should have one. I think it's a great way to do it. And I look forward to like larger scale forums, as long as it's not completely disorganized and anybody can talk. But you do have to have this. We don't meet up in town hall anymore. Nobody sits on their fences and talks across the way anymore. Right. So you got to have these, and don't just have them with people that agree with you. Don't just do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that, man. Because all you're doing, like all these, like how many people have unfollowed me? And I mean, I'm guilty of it. I had to unfollow a couple of people because it was just too much. But I also understand that while I'm a big fan of social media, like huge fan, you also, like people are like, oh my God, I can't believe how terrible people are. It's not really true. It's just that you're getting to hear them. You're getting to listen to people that you normally would have never interacted with. The shitty neighbor on the other side of the neighborhood has always been there. You're just never at their dining room table listening to them talk.
Absolutely.
And now you can hear them talk. And it's both disheartening, but all of this noise and all of this information has to come out so that we all take a real look at what we are, right? Yeah. Because just like I am like 100% convinced that I'm on the right side of history, I have to take in with a grain of salt that so do they. they believe as passionately as I do that they are correct and that they have the best interest of the nation at heart. Now, some of them are just assholes, and like I get that. And some of the people that I know that we share similar points of views are also just assholes. So I get that too. But so I'm all for it, man. I think these are great. Keep them going. Everybody out there, just talk. You recently moved to Philly, to this building that we're in right now, from Florida by way of Denver. So you were telling me that it was interesting, just to jump subject real quick, to move to an area that experiences hurricanes on the regular. Where I grew up in Florida, like most Floridians like laugh about hurricanes. They're like, whatever, dude. Like, you have hurricane parties and everybody meets up at one person's garage and you like barbecue and everybody just hangs out and you open the garage door and you watch it. Like, seriously, you just like watch it. And so it's not a big deal to us, but you're coming from there. And what was your experience?
I'm coming in and like, I wasn't even there like a week or two. And, you know, I got my mom calling me. I got like friends from Colorado calling me. And then there's the news and everything's like, get out, it's going to be destroyed, you know? And like, I ended up having a job in Colorado anyways. So I just left a couple days early.
You just bailed on your new talent.
Dude,
man.
well, I mean, like,
out.
it was crazy. You know, I didn't like want to die like everybody was saying would happen.
Now, you know what it's like for us to have friends and family in other parts, well, mostly friends in other parts of the country that like end of the world, they hit you up like that. And they're like, oh my God, are you going to make it?
Absolutely. So, and it kind of pisses me off a little bit because, you know, all the hype and everything. And then like, oh, it kind of missed or went up here and everything's fine.
Right.
And it's kind of like, all right, back to normal life.
Yeah. Well, you know who sponsors those newscasts, right? Home Depot, man.
Well,
they're selling plywood and generators, bro. They sponsor that. They're like, you're gonna die. You gotta get rid of it. Gotta buy all this.
But the real thing that pisses me off more than anything is the fact that, you know, there's a hype. You get all the Americans hyped up about it, and not that, you know, there's salvageable damage that's not out of the norm apparently. Right. But then you've got some shit that happens in Puerto Rico. I've got friends in Puerto Rico. They're just barely getting power back. They're just
a third of the country still.
Yeah, and so, but aside from the buildup up to it happening, and like a few days after, and it's like, oh, South Florida's fine, everybody back to normal, and there's just like there's still no what I consider consideration, or you know they want to make a big deal about it, about frickin' Miami Beach and Key West and everything, but then like there's still people living without power down there.
Yalzi was just on. Who's from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
We just did a podcast a couple days ago together. And we were talking about that because he just moved to Florida. He just left Puerto Rico. Family, everybody just moved up.
Before or after hurricane? Okay.
After. His dad lives here already and, you know, U.S. citizen. You move wherever you want. But they came up and he is one that will tell you the truth. While the administration did not handle it well, and this moron throwing paper towels at people who just lost their houses was – I can't even get my head around it. It's not even insulting. It's detached. It's so detached from reality that you would throw a paper towel roll to somebody who does not have drinking water. You know what I mean? It's just laughable at this point. Like, it's just laughable. So but Yalzi was one that did admit, he's like, it is also our government. He's like, it is also the government of Puerto Rico that has a problem with infrastructure distribution and in their own workings. So I do know that it was not handled well at all from our side initially at all. I mean, the Red Cross hospital ship that was out there that takes people that can't get to hospitals, that sat off the coast of Puerto Rico for however long, at one time had 3 people in it, 3 patients. Hundreds of people needed to be in a hospital, couldn't get into a hospital. This ship sitting right off the island. You could see it, this ship that's a floating hospital.
Why did it have only 3 patients?
Yeah, why did it only have 3 patients?
Why weren't they boating
people out there? Right.
Like there's not all the boats could.
Right. No, they were fine. But that's internal. You know what I mean? So there are 2 sides to it. It's not just the government in one state that's responsible for you also getting the supplies out to your own people. So it's a double-edged sword. Handled poorly, yes. but also handled poorly internally.
Gotcha.
And that does happen. I mean, Detroit's an example of that. Chicago's an example of that. You know what I mean? There are examples of places that it is also the government there that has a problem. But passing the buck and blaming them for it was stupid as shit. You don't do any of that. You just help. You do whatever is needed at the time at the federal level, the DC level. You send everything needed, and at least you've done that. And then send the supervision down there as well. Send the people to help with the disbursement of the materials. Play the part and hold the local government accountable and help them. You know what I mean? If they're not doing something well, don't just be like, oh, well, you should have done it. It's the people that you still got to help. So you make it work regardless. You fix the problem, then you address the details later. Get the problem resolved, get the damn power on, get people drinking water and food and get them medical care, then go back in and have a sit down with the government and be like, look, guys, this is where we all failed. This is where mistakes are made. This is where you're weak. And we got to fix this because we are all U.S. citizens. We are all under the same umbrella. Let's take care of this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Instead of just like buck passing and, oh, you should have done better and blah, 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 blah. You know? Yeah, here's a paper towel. Oh, yeah. So anyhow, it's 2017, the very last day to everybody listening. This is my boy Wiser. We are going to be doing more of these. We're going to start doing some group ones too. So you'll get a website or on the website at TOSOTT.com. That's the other side of the tattoo.com. There's going to be a little a place for you to send in suggestions and reach out to us. So people that have like subjects that they want to hear us go over. And for those of y'all just checking it out, the other side of the tattoo came from, I'm from the industry. I used to pierce, and then I owned a shop for 10 years. Then I had an expo for a couple of years. Then we built Steadfast brand out of the tattoo industry. And then I worked with Inked magazine. So we've always been connected to the industry at like the other angle of the industry. So that's kind of what it was about. Yeah, we do interview I do interview some artists, etc. But it's also just like the other side of the lifestyle, like Wiser's, tattooed up, sleeved out, everything else. Hell yeah. And there is that side of it, right? That functioning part of the community that just happens to collect or is in the business side of it. And it just is perspective. So it really doesn't have anything to do with tattoos. It's just because we all come from a lot of the people that I know or that we're connected with just happen to also affiliate with the industry. But it's not just that industry. It's the art industry. It's the entrepreneurial side, all of that. I mean, meet a chef that doesn't have tattoos these days or anybody in, any particular field. So that's where it came from, just based on history. So by all means, share it out with people that you know. Tweet this, Facebook it, mention it, Instagram it, whatever. It's The Other Side of the Tattoo, Chris Collins podcast. And the website again is TOSOTT.com. Wiser, where can they check out your work?
Mostly on social media, Wiser Oner on Instagram and Facebook.
And it's not Wiser One, because everybody thinks it's one. It is Oner.
Wiser Oner. Yeah, it's a graffiti thing. And oddly enough, like some people will say Oner. Yeah. When the first time I went to Germany, I discovered that my name is it's a graffiti thing. Yeah. So Wiser Oner is a graffiti term meaning you're kind of like a lone wolf, right? Okay. You roll solo. But in Germany, like Wiser, and they pronounce it Visa, and Oner is a legit common German last name. Yeah. So it's funny that got a name, German? Graffiti name that's like totally German. No, I'm Mexican. But my legit legal last name is German, because somewhere along the way a German came and
we can do a whole just so you know, that'll be a whole other podcast that we do. The German migration to Mexico was massive. Yeah. All the beer companies, whether it's Corona, Dos Equis, all of those, they're all German beer companies. They used to say German beer on them. Only recently in the past few years have they started switching it to saying Mexican beer.
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't
crazy.
Yeah, it's really deep. So we'll look into that too and tap in on that, because that's actually an interesting story that I only started learning about in the past few years, like how many Germans actually went straight to Mexico and set up camp. So that'll be cool to go over. Yeah. So again, everybody listening or not, whatever, Happy New Year. This is going to be a great 2018. And thank you for joining us.
Oh yeah.